Welcome to another episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Our hosts, Sri Rajgopalan, Peter V.S. Bond, and Brian Gildenberg, explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPG Guys. Good, and I am going to get us going. Okay?
Wonderful. Let's do this.
All right. Hey everyone, it's PVSB with the CPG Guys, and I am here in San Francisco at LiveRamp's RampUp, which is being billed as the premier data collaboration event for innovators around the globe. And coming to us from the far side, not of the globe, but at least this continent, is a friend of the podcast, a former guest, and we're glad to have him back. He is the Vice President and General Manager of CVS Media Exchange, the retail media arm of CVS Health. Glad to welcome back Parbinder Dhariwal. Parbs, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Peter. Thank you for having me back. How have you been?
I have been doing very well. This is my sixth trip of the year. I think I've already achieved platinum executive status on American Airlines. It's a little crazy.
I'm already envious.
I don't know. I'd rather have your hair than my elite status. I'll tell you that much. But in any event, it's great to have you here today.
Yeah, and again, first of all, thank you for having me back. I think we last spoke in June of last year.
It was
23. Yeah. So, and I was a few months into the role, and you know, finding my feet within the broader sort of CVS ecosystem as well. But just it might be worth just giving readers just because you've been growing exponentially as well. Maybe give them a little bit of a background on CMX and CVS Media Exchange.
Let's start with that. Why don't you give me an understanding, because just to refamiliarize themselves, what is CVS Media Exchange and what is the underlying asset that allows you to help brands connect with CVS shoppers?
Yeah, and CVS Media Exchange, so, and I'll constantly refer it to CMX, just for shorthand. We are the retail media network for CVS Health. So we support the broader mission around CVS Health. Our business is very much predicated on our Extra Care consumer loyalty program. Right. So, you know, the loyalty program that's been in the market, probably the longest standing loyalty program in retail. I would say we see around about an average of like 10 plus years on our loyalty member. There's 70.
I was part of that for 3 years.
Well, you're one of
back in the day.
Well, there you go. And you're probably one of 74 million consumers that we have as members of our Extra Care program. We also are part of the monetization across our in-store network. So, you know, we have 5 million consumers who are walking through our doors every single day. And the digital platform as well, there's 139 million. I stumbled on that number, but it's 139 million monthly users who come to the CVS.com website as well. So that's how our business is built. We've been around for about 3.5 years, but again, thank you for having me back.
Okay, so let's get to this question I had on standards in retail media. Do you think this is good for the industry, and how is it going to help build trust with advertisers that are more broadly looking to invest in retail media, and how is CMX looking to support this direction?
Yeah, so I believe standardization is incredibly important for the industry. I think as we think about the work that is being done at the IAB, Jeffrey Bustos leading the charge around standardization. We've been at the forefront of that. We've been working closely in collaboration with other retailers and retail media networks to bring that level of standardization to the market. And we will continue with that work. I think that's incredibly important work as we build the industry and continue to see the growth. The other area that I think is incredibly important for CMX, and we're leaning in a big way, is around transparency. I think standardization is important. It's the underlying and the pinning of the way in which we think about our business. Transparency is even more important. Transparency in the way in which we report, transparency in the way in which we measure, the methodologies that we use in order to measure, even right the way through transparency. If you think about how are we matching some of our first party data? What are some of those match rates, and transparency around that too? And we're going to be bringing much more transparency to our brand partners. It's a big and important factor. It's not just important for our brands, but it's also important for our consumers.
That is terrific. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the standardization is going to help from media buying perspectives as well, because we have all these people that have built their entire careers right on media buying, and having retail media sit outside of that is challenging, and it to some degree dissuades the ability to create integrated media planning. And I think as you start to standardize it, it's only going to benefit everybody in the industry when people understand what they're doing.
Correct, and we need that baseline, right? And the IAB have done a phenomenal job of bringing that together.
It is great. So, Parvs, let's look at innovation in retail media. Obviously, on-site retail media is the granddaddy of them all. It's what's been around the longest. It's where most of the investment in. But we've seen a lot of growth in off-site and in-store. Where do you see innovation coming from, and how do you think that's going to have an impact on this blurring of the line of investments coming from brands, trade budget versus brand budget? Is this all now going to be much more fungible, and do you have assets that are really going to help brands engage up and down the funnel in terms of connecting with CVS shoppers?
Yeah, and just to sort of level set, I believe there's innovation for us to be had across all of the different channels, whether you think about in-store innovation, on-site innovation, off-site innovation. We're working really tirelessly to bring that level of innovation. I think one of the things, as we're here at RampUp this week, one of the things that I want to bring to bear that we're announcing today is our partnership with Pinterest. So it's we're the first health and beauty and wellness retail media network to bring this partnership to bear. What it is that we're building and commingling with Pinterest our audiences in LiveRamp around these very specific shoppers and targeting them across Pinterest. So really strong innovation that we're driving and using clean room environments in order to enable us to enact upon that. So I think that's certainly something. And if you think about our authority within the health and beauty space, we're number one both in beauty, health, and wellness categories. If you think about our consumers and their spend per trip, and we're second highest as it relates to per buyer amongst the top 10 retailers. So we've got a lot of reach as we think about health, beauty, and wellness shoppers, and Pinterest also over indexes in those categories too.
I can't think of a better combination between obviously the beauty aspect of what CVS is merchandising and retailing, and Pinterest is all about curation of video content and experiences that very often revolve around that lifestyle. So what a great and natural combination you've created with Pinterest.
Correct. And just to sort of lean on what we were talking about around measurement, attribution is a core component of what we're bringing to the table here. Yeah. There's one-to-one attribution. We're going to provide transparency around that with the work that we're doing with Pinterest. So really, really, really excited to bring that to bear. Some of the other work that we're doing as well as we think about some of our off-site partnerships, we're working with more premium publishers. So what are some of those more brand safe environments that we can utilize some of our off-site assets for and targeting our consumers in off-site environments. So we'll continue to enhance the work that we're doing with publishers like New York Times or audio platforms like Spotify. We'll continue to drive those. Those are really important as well. But let's not forget 80% of, according to the NRF, 80% of shopping still happens within the in-store environment. Right. We believe that the in-store environment is an important part of the way in which consumers behave. We still see a lot of our consumers, around 52% of our app consumers, who start their journey in the app and then complete it within store within 48 hours. So that sort of digital to physical connectivity is important. The connectivity to that consumer across that omnichannel is also really important. And you're going to see more enhancement around that.
So last year we spoke with Andrew Lipsman when he was an eMarketer, and he talked about kind of reframing what the expectations are from an in-store experience, being less personalized and more highly relevant. Do you see also looking down the road, the opportunity to actually deliver very personalized experiences in store, maybe through the mobile app, maybe through other mechanisms, as being a core capability that retail media networks are gonna be offering.
We are looking at that, but we're going to tackle it first from a measurement standpoint. We're going to we're working on how do we close the loop from a digital to a physical. And remember, we have the Extra Care loyalty program that is really that connective tissue between those two environments. So that's going to be our first thing. We're going to be bringing more screens and digital assets to our in-store environments as well. So we invested pretty significantly around that, and I spoke about that when we met almost a year ago. We invested really heavily in bringing those assets to bear last year, and we'll continue to realize some of those assets as well. And that's an ongoing process. The other part of your question was around sort of direct brand versus trade. We don't think that it's an or, it's an and, right? We're going to continue to drive the shopper trade dollars, and we're seeing some really, really strong traction from brand partners, and some brand partners are really now starting to bring some of those ways of buying together as well, and which we're leveraging, of course, but our opportunity of being in market is also about how do we target more of those brand dollars.
That's solid. All right, so Path to Purchase Institute recently released its annual Retail Media Trends Survey. Would love to hear what learnings did you take from this in thinking about the next stage for CVS Media Exchange, CMX?
Yeah, really interesting study, and actually, I think Path to Purchase do a phenomenal job.
They're a great industry resource, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. And we really enjoy working with the team over there. I think there's two areas that I want to jump in on that I sort of saw as noticeable. The first one is the continued growth of the category. We're still seeing, growth of spend within the category, the lean in. We're seeing almost 2/3 of the respondents who are saying that they are going to have some increase across retail media, which is, again, is testament to the work that everybody in the industry is doing, and testament to how we're thinking about our prominence in this space at CMX. The other piece that really stood out to me is around, as we think about, there's a lot of talk around consolidation in retail media networks, but we're still seeing, growth of use of retail media networks. If you look at the 22 numbers versus the 23 numbers, you've gone from like 6% of the respondents want to be working with sort of So, and we're continuing to see suppliers work across a large number of retail media networks. Not only are 36% of them working with 10 plus networks, that number is up significantly from 2 years ago, right? And just the last 2 years, up from 6% in the 2022 survey. So that's one, I think, standout for us to be thinking about. The second area that is really standout, and it's actually been one of the themes of this conversation, which is around measurement. It's about measurement and the need for clear attribution. And, we continue to bring that level of transparency to the way in which we're thinking about measurement, and the need and drive from the market in order to bring that to bear is really, really, is going to be key for retail media to grow. But from a CVS perspective, transparency is going to be that cornerstone of how we believe and how we operate and how we bring measurement and how we bring audiences to partners. And the Pinterest announcement that we had today is also a really good example of how we're bringing that to market with core partners.
Okay. So in addition to obviously the really big news that you shared with us around Pinterest, what are you hoping to do here at RampUp while you're collaborating on all these data conversations with ecosystem partners, brands, and what have you? What are you hoping to get out of this couple day event?
Yeah, look, RampUp and LiveRamp. LiveRamp, first of all, for us is they're our clean room of choice. We've been working with them for a number of years.
Now they've acquired Habu, which makes their clean room assume, even better than it was before. Their capabilities are top-notch. I can't wait to hear what they have to say during this event.
Correct, and it'll be interesting to see how that integration works across the Habu platform. It was definitely the right acquisition for them. RampUp is an opportunity for us to collaborate not only with more tech vendors and partners, but also our industry and our peers within the industry. We're here to really connect. I'm on stage a little later today, but by the time this goes out, I'm sure there's a recording of it that you can find. And I'm talking about how we think about the secret to long-term success of retail media networks. What are some of the watch outs, but what are some of the opportunities as we continue to grow this sector? And really looking forward to that. And we'll dive into some areas such as collaboration, how that breeds innovation, some of the ways in which we're thinking about moving from shopper trade dollars to much more brand dollars as well. So it's a really great event, and it's becoming much more of a cornerstone of the industry as well, this particular event.
Well, I'm so glad to see that the data aspect of retail media is front and center now in all conversations, as evidenced by the incredible attendance that we're seeing at RampUp, LiveRamp's big event. So, Parb, thanks for taking time out of your day to come over and speak with me, and good luck on stage this afternoon. I know it's going to be very well received, the announcement around Pinterest. Thanks.
Thanks, Peter. I appreciate your time as always, and keep up the great work. It's great.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.